Chaplain John Ring here with questions just asked, answering your questions that you give us. Let me do this. Pause a second and decrease the sound here. It's a little bit delayed, and I don't want to be have any feedback here. There we go. Hey, I'm here to answer the questions that you have. I still need questions. Please send them in so we can continue questions. Just as it's based upon the questions you have, not the ones that I want to create. So, hey, this question, I get asked this a lot, mainly by unbelievers who we finally get, I'm sharing Jesus with. They said, why do you choose to believe in Jesus? Well, let me give you a little word of testimony. Uh, I became a believer in Jesus around the age of 6. Don't really know why, other than I was asked to do, did I believe in Jesus? And at that time, I said, yes, I do. But as I grew older, just like most people do, the time came I had to say, do I really believe this? What is it about that I believe? So I began to examine it. In fact, I really encourage everyone. Don't listen to what people have told you. You examine the Bible. You examine the story of Jesus, and you figure out if it's true or not. Because in the end of the day, belief means I believe it to be true. So what caused me to believe that the story of Jesus was true? And I tell you, it came down to the disciples. I have this favorite saying that Jesus is either a lunatic, a liar, or he's Lord. Either he's a lunatic because, man, he was prodding his death. He was poking the Pharisees all the time, and he had to have a God complex, and so they killed him. Or he was a liar, or he really had a God complex that he constantly lied. So therefore, this is all a hoax. Or he really is Lord. So I really got to looking at it. Is he really Lord? Do I really believe he is Lord? What makes me believe for sure that Jesus is Lord? It's his disciples. See, because, if it's not true, this has to be a grand conspiracy. Say, what? Yeah. If this is not true, it's a conspiracy that had to be carried on beyond Jesus' death. So I got to looking hard at the disciples. I got looking hard at what a conspiracy. A conspiracy only survives if you keep everybody together. And actually, the opposite happened with the disciples. Jesus said, "Go into all the world and preach the gospel," and that's what they did. They all went into the world. They all separated instead of staying together and said, "Man, we got to keep this going so that we can be a main part of this, so we can be the key elements." They separated. Then, one by one, they started to be martyred, killed for their faith. Not a one of them, in a foreign land with nobody else around, said, "You know what? I'll just deny Christ, get out of town, and just pick it up again." Not a one of them did anything like that. There's no stories of disciple denying Christ and picked it up when he went to the next town. None of that occurred. They all died. So you got to ask the question, why did the disciples die if it was a conspiracy? At any time, because they were not together, they could have reneged on their faith. They could have gotten out of a jam. They could have saved their lives. But instead, they all gave it. Well, there's only one conclusion. That'd be true. People don't die for false things. They die for true things. At least they believe them to be true. And the story that they had is that Jesus was risen from the dead, and they had actually seen him. So therefore, it had to be true. It's either that, or this is the biggest fake, lame lie and conspiracy in the world that has existed for how many thousands of years, and nobody's ever been able to really disclaim it, make it a lie. Oh, there's people that attempt, but they don't have any real proof. It's because the proof is in the pudding, and it's true. So that's why I've come to really choose to absolutely believe 100% that Jesus Christ is the Lord of Lords, the King of Kings. He is the Lord and Savior. He died and rose again for the forgiveness of sins. So therefore, and the resurrection is the important part, because once he resurrected, that verified that everything he said was true. And the disciples carried it on for about 120 years after he died. So therefore, because they carried it on instead of choosing to live. They died for it. To me, there's no way I would have been killed. And they weren't just didn't die. They were murdered brutally, murdered. Look, pick up the book of Fox's Book of Martyrs and read about how the disciples were killed. And you'll find out that it had to be true. So do your own research. Make sure you know why you believe. All right, that's this week. Next week is, well, we were asked what heaven was like, so I thought I'd follow it up with the next question. What is hell like? We know a little bit about what hell is like, so that'll be next week. See you then. Come on back next week.